There is a particular kind of pain that has nothing to do with falling short of a goal. It is not the sting of a missed deadline, a failed exam, or a business idea that did not work out. It is something older, something more personal, the terror of being turned away by another human being. For many people, the thought of someone saying no, pulling away, or choosing someone else feels far more devastating than any measurable loss. If you have ever found yourself staying silent when you wanted to speak, shrinking back when you wanted to step forward, or holding your love at arm's length just to avoid the possibility of being unwanted, this is for you. Fear of rejection is one of the most quietly powerful forces in human psychology. It shapes careers, sabotages relationships, silences voices, and keeps people living far smaller lives than they are capable of. And yet, because it is invisible, because it masquerades as carefulness or politeness or not wanting to bother anyone, it often goes unexamined for years, even decades. Understanding where this fear comes from and why it can feel more unbearable than failure itself is the first step toward reclaiming the life it has quietly been taking from you. To understand why rejection feels so catastrophic, we first have to go back to where it begins. Human beings are wired for belonging. From the earliest days of our evolution, being part of a group was not a social preference, it was survival. To be cast out meant to be left alone in a world full of danger. The brain, brilliant and adaptive as it is, learned to treat social rejection as a physical threat. Research in neuroscience has confirmed what many people feel intuitively. The pain of rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. When you are rejected, your body responds the same way it would to being hurt. This is not weakness, this is biology. But biology alone does not explain why some people carry this fear so much more intensely than others. The answer lies in early attachment, in the very first relationships we formed with the people who were supposed to keep us safe. For children who grew up in homes where love felt conditional, where affection was withdrawn as punishment, where parents were emotionally unavailable or inconsistent, the brain learns a deeply troubling lesson. I am only acceptable when I perform correctly. I am only lovable when I do not inconvenience anyone. I am only welcome when I make myself easy to love. This is where the fear of rejection diverges from the fear of failure. A person who fears failure is afraid of the task. A person who fears rejection is afraid of being seen as fundamentally flawed, as someone who, at their core, is not enough. Failure feels like an event. Rejection feels like a verdict. This distinction shows up everywhere in daily life, in ways that can be easy to miss if you do not know what you are looking at. Consider the person who prepares obsessively for a job interview, not because they want the role desperately, but because they cannot bear the thought of someone deciding they are not worth hiring, or the one who laughs off their own ideas before anyone else has a chance to, beating the rejection to the punch. There is the person who stays in a relationship long past its expiration date, not out of love, but out of the unbearable fear of hearing the words, "I do not want you anymore." And perhaps most quietly heartbreaking of all, there is the person who never says what they really feel, who swallows their needs and becomes endlessly accommodating because making themselves palatable feels safer than risking the truth of who they are being turned away. This pattern, what psychologists sometimes call rejection sensitivity, does not just affect how people behave. It changes how they perceive the world around them. People with high rejection sensitivity are often hypervigilant to social cues. An unanswered message becomes evidence of abandonment. A friend's distracted tone becomes proof of disapproval. A partner's quiet evening becomes a sign that something is wrong. The mind, trained to scan for threats, finds them everywhere, even where they do not exist. And this constant state of low-level anxiety is exhausting. It is like living with a smoke alarm that never turns off, even on days when nothing is burning. What makes this especially complex is that the very coping strategies people develop to avoid rejection often create the outcomes they fear most. The person who never expresses a need ends up in relationships where they feel invisible. The one who always agrees, always accommodates, always makes themselves small, eventually becomes so disconnected from their own identity that they do not even know what they want anymore. The individual who avoids vulnerability so fiercely that they push people away before anyone has a chance to leave, they find themselves alone, having orchestrated the very rejection they were running from. This is not a character flaw. It is a painful, self-reinforcing cycle that begins with a wound and, without awareness, continues to deepen it. And this is perhaps the most important thing to understand. The fact that this pattern exists in you does not mean it defines you. brain that learned to fear rejection is the same brain that is capable of learning something new. The nervous system that once equated social disapproval with danger can, over time and with intention, be taught to distinguish between discomfort and catastrophe. This is not a simple process, and it is rarely a fast one. But it is real, and it is possible. Healing from a deep fear of rejection begins with one radical act: allowing yourself to be witnessed first by yourself. This means sitting with the moments when the fear arises, not to analyze them intellectually, but to ask gently, what does this remind me of? Where did I first learn that being myself was not safe? It means recognizing that the small child who learned to make themselves acceptable in order to be loved was doing something intelligent and protective. That child was surviving. And now you, as an adult, have the opportunity to do something that child never could. To choose connection over performance, truth over palatability, presence over protection. It also means practicing, slowly and in small ways, the experience of expressing yourself authentically and surviving it. It means sending the message, sharing the opinion, asking for the thing you need, and noticing that the world does not end, even when the answer is no. Because here is something that the fear of rejection does not want you to know. A no from someone else is not a verdict on your worth. It is information about fit, about timing, about what that particular person is able to offer. It is not a measure of whether you deserve to be loved. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to say what you mean and feel what you feel and want what you want, without shrinking yourself down to a size that feels easier for everyone else to accept. The version of you that has been held back by the fear of rejection, the one with opinions still unspoken, with love still unoffered, with dreams still unannounced, that version deserves to be heard. Rejection will happen. It is a part of being alive in relationship with other people. But it does not have to be the thing that runs your life from the shadows. The goal is not to become someone who never feels the sting of rejection. The goal is to become someone who knows, deeply and without question, that they can survive it, that they are not diminished by it, that their worth was never, not for a single moment, dependent on someone else's willingness to see it. You were enough before anyone confirmed it, and you still are.